Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Sunday, May the 21st, 2023. Today, I want to talk about relationships. Now, this is an important matter for astrologers because that's what their clients want to know about very often. Clients want to know how their love life is going, whether that special person in their life is going to stay with them, whether or not they're going to get married, divorced, whatever. And this has always been the case. If you look at the 17th century textbook of, or rather casebook of astrologer William Lilly, lots of women visited him in 17th century London wanting to know whether they're going to get married, how their love life is going to go. So this is kind of the bread and butter of astrology. It's kind of a bit unfortunate because it's actually quite a boring subject, at least I think it is. But still, I have to talk about it because it does matter. And I want to look at relationships with particular reference to Donald Trump. Now, we think about Donald Trump as a politician, and we think about whether or not he's going to stand for election as president next year. But what about him as a person? And what does his horoscope tell us about how he relates? What does it tell us about his sexuality? So the reason I am talking about this, why I'm focusing on Donald Trump now, is because I read an article in the New York Post. So let me show you. This article is titled Ex-Playmate Karen McDougal Details Love Affair with Trump and If She's Backing Him Again in 2024. So it seems that in 2006, 2007, apparently she had some kind of relationship with him, and she revealed intimate details about her love affair with former President Trump Friday, while announcing her surprising pick for president in 2024. And she says he can be crass and vulgar, but when he has his kind moments, it's lovely to see because it shows there's still a human in there. He needs to have more compassion for people in general, a lot more. Yeah, and she described a 10-month relationship with the married then reality TV star beginning in 2006. So we come to this section, and she claimed that she first met Trump at a Playboy Mansion pool party in June 2006. Trump, who had recently welcomed youngest son Barron with new wife Melania, quickly became smitten with the swimsuit-clad model, she said. Now, it goes on to say, she said, after dinner, things heated up and Trump made his move. I was attracted to him, but it wasn't like I was looking to jump into bed with Donald Trump on the first night especially, McDougal said. She revealed that Trump offered her money afterward. I was dressed and ready to go, and I saw this stack of cash in his hand. I said, I'm not that kind of girl, McDougal said. He knew he'd made a mistake when he saw how upset I was. He told me I was really special. So, on that note, I think it would be a good idea to look at Donald Trump's horoscope and see if some of the details in this story are reflected in it. So let's look at his horoscope. Here we are. So there it is, Trump's chart. So in terms of relationships, and you want to get a quick idea about how someone relates to the opposite sex, quick idea about sexuality, the first thing to look at in a man's chart I think is the Moon and Venus, because the Moon and Venus are female planets, and they are projected. The Moon and Venus will give some idea about what a man is looking for in the opposite sex. And to give a clearer example, I just want to have a quickly show you John F. Kennedy's chart. So he had the Moon in Virgo square Venus in Gemini, and the Moon represents one aspect of how he saw the opposite sex. The Moon was the mother. The Moon was a woman who organizes his home, particularly Moon in Virgo, some organized woman. She's perhaps at home. She's kind of a mother figure. In other words, the Moon in Virgo was perhaps Jackie Onassis, or not, obviously not Onassis when he was married to her. She became Jackie Onassis, but that's Jackie, Moon in Virgo. Square Venus. That's the Venus in Gemini is the other aspect of the feminine. Perhaps to put it crudely, the whore. The virtuous woman, Moon in Virgo, the whore, Venus in Gemini, and perhaps that relates to all the women he had affairs with while he was married to Jackie. Interestingly, Marilyn Monroe was a Gemini. So Kennedy's chart clearly shows how the two aspects of a feminine, the Moon and the Venus, can play off each other, and they are in his chart they are square. There is a conflict between the two aspects of a feminine in his chart. Now, as far as Trump's chart is concerned, it's not just the Moon and Venus. We do have to look at other things, but that Venus is really interesting because he's got Venus square Saturn. Now, from a psychological perspective, if you've got Venus square Saturn, Saturn is a planet of restriction. It might represent a difficulty in relating. It may represent a difficulty in showing feeling. And Venus-Saturn is often linked with sex for money, because Venus is supposed to be nice and spontaneous, but Saturn is there. And so Saturn can't just relax. Saturn is thinking about sex as some kind of contractual relationship. You give something, you get something back. And this Venus-Saturn conjunction has a special role in this chart when you compare it with Mars. So when you look at a chart and you want to know about how someone relates, you should always look at the Venus-Mars midpoint. And it's quite amazing. There's so much material on astrology and relationships on YouTube. People go on and on and on. But very often they don't mention the Venus-Mars midpoint. You have to look at the Venus-Mars midpoint. That tells you very quickly about someone's sexuality. So in Trump's case, you can see there's his Venus, there's his Mars, and he's got Pluto on the Venus-Mars midpoint. So normally, Pluto on the Venus-Mars midpoint on its own would be about a powerful sexuality, someone who is really able to make things happen with the power of their sexual energy. And that kind of seems a bit positive. But in Trump's case, Saturn is dragged in. So there's Mars. There is the Venus-Saturn conjunction. So we kind of have to see Venus-Saturn almost as the same planet. So Venus is heavily covered by Saturn. So yes, he is someone who regards sex as being very important. He believes sex can really make him feel alive. And this is, this is what it's all about. But Saturn is there. He just can't quite get the satisfaction he's looking for. Saturn stops it. Saturn is analyzing. Saturn is considering things too much, and it's too materialistic. Hence that comment about him wanting to pay this woman money. I don't know whether it's true. It's her report. And it links with the fact that in his chart, he has no earth in his chart. There's Taurus, empty. Capricorn, empty. Virgo, empty. The 3 earth signs are empty. So if you've got no earth in your chart, it can manifest in 2 possible ways. One way is that you don't really care about material things. You can just live on your mountain and just not have to worry. Material stuff is people down there. The other way a lack of earth can show itself is through compensation. You can't relax when it comes to money. You feel you're missing something. You feel that other people are missing something. So he has sex with someone, and it's got to have a financial consequence because it's all about money, because he's constantly compensating. And I think that's what's probably happening. What's probably happening in this chart. There is a sense of wanting to compensate, and Saturn is really causing a lot of damage there. This Venus Saturn conjunction. He can't just relate normally. Now, an interesting thing about some of the women in his life, I looked at the chart of Ivana Trump, which I think she was his second wife, and note that Ivana Trump had a Sun-Saturn opposition. Her Sun was at 0 Pisces, her Saturn at 3 Virgo. So remember those 2 positions. Then you look at Trump's chart. So in other words, her Sun-Saturn opposition was right on his ascendant, descendant. So somehow Ivana Trump was kind of grounding him with that Saturn. Now, another woman who had a Sun-Saturn opposition that I think was working in a very different way was E. Jean Carroll. Now, she was a woman that was accusing him of sexual assault, and a jury, I think in New York, awarded her $5 million. And she has a Sun-Saturn opposition. Her Sun is at 19 Sagittarius, her Saturn at 23 Gemini. Now, we don't really know what happened. A civil court found in her favour, but this Sun-Saturn opposition was certainly hitting Donald, because Sun in Sagittarius, he's got his Moon in Sagittarius, and he's got his Sun in Gemini. There you can see, there's her, there it is, he's got his Moon, her Moon's, so her Sun-Saturn opposition was hitting his Sun-Moon opposition. So that's how these 2 women were affecting him. But looking at Melania, we need to remember that Donald has no Earth in his chart. So what kind of woman might he get involved with? That's right. He might get involved with someone who's got loads of Earth in her chart. You can see that Melania is a very material woman. She's got Moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is an Earth sign. She's got Sun, Saturn, Mercury, and Venus in Taurus. So she's got 5 traditional planets in Earth signs. And there's Donald with no planets in Earth signs. So when he meets Melania, I don't know when he first met her, but he was probably really hit by all that Earth. he must have felt for a time that she had something that he didn't, and certainly for a time that must have sustained the relationship. One other thing I want to point out is that looking at the chart of Karen McDougall, this, I don't have the time of birth, but the woman who was being talked about in the New York Post. Sorry, there she is. I didn't find anything amazing about the connections between her chart and Donald's chart. I mean, I didn't really find anything amazing about his connection with Melania's chart. So I think there may be a certain tendency on Donald's part to completely objectify women, remembering that he doesn't have any earth in his chart. So he compensates by having an idea about what a woman should look like. If she looks like this and she is attractive and he thinks that she's the kind of person who would look good on his arm, that might be enough. And that might be the basis of some of the relationships he gets involved with, remembering that Venus-Saturn conjunction. So the chemistry between him and the other party may be irrelevant. It may be literally what she looks like. And that is almost a parody of Earth. But because he's got no Earth in his chart, there's a tendency there to create a parody of Earth. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about Donald Trump. I'm not doing this really in a negative way. I'm just looking at from a perspective of how he relates. It's no reflection on him as a politician. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote for him. I'm not saying you should vote for him. Every politician has got their skeletons. I mean, anyone who's a politician is up to no good. It doesn't matter who they are. So don't hold all this against him too much. Anyway, it's just a view. So let's move to today's astrology. So here is the chart for today, Sunday, May the 21st, 2023. And we can see that the sun is now in Gemini. It's a time when there's going to be a lot more flexibility. We're going to be looking for variety. People are not going to be as set in their ways as they used to be. And so there may be more freedom, but like yesterday, there is an opposition between Mars and Pluto. And some people are going to be very focused on themselves and on their power. They're going to want to get their way regardless, and they may not care what they have to do to get their way. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to be aware of that in yourself. You have to ask yourself, how badly do you want to get your way? Are you prepared to upset people to get your way? Probably not. So if you can get away from these power struggles and start focusing on the sun, moon in Gemini, get into the lightness of the thing, just have gentle conversations, air your ideas, don't worry about power struggles. Things should be okay, and today should be fine. Now, as far as the 12 signs are concerned, here are my forecasts for them. Aries, you're very focused on power dynamics, and you can create big changes. Taurus, someone's playing games, and it's not appreciated. There are two ways of making money. Gemini, it's your time of year. After all, the sun is now in Gemini. And your open-mindedness will be much appreciated. Cancer, you can fade into the background. Let other people make fools of themselves. Leo, it's a zero-sum day. One person's win is another person's loss. Virgo, It may be a Sunday, but career matters can't be ignored. A new cycle is starting. Libra, you can move out of your comfort zone. New experiences bring new opportunity. Scorpio, you want results and you're not prepared to wait. Where there's money, there's trouble. Sagittarius, let other people have their say, even if you're sure they're wrong. Capricorn, clean air is important, and today you need to go out of your way to avoid dust, pollen, and chemical pollutants. Aquarius, other people can be difficult, and one person in particular is perhaps being a real jerk. And finally, Pisces, don't over-exercise, don't take things to extreme. At home, you can make a fresh start. Now, as far as the I Ching is concerned, I asked the usual question. What is Sunday going to be like for visitors to my YouTube channel? Well, the first hexagram I threw was hexagram number 1, the creative. That's 6 straight lines, unbroken lines, one above the other. So we're going to feel this creative impulse, the desire to make things happen, to start a process, and hopefully this process will get stronger and stronger, and we will, I suppose, in the end be able to benefit from it. However, we have to decide how we're going to deal with it. What kind of creative process is it? Some of us are going to be very focused on being in the public eye. We believe we can make things happen in terms of other people. Maybe we just want to be a star, and we want to be famous, and we want to get loads of attention. That's fine. If you want to do that, no problem. On the other hand, we might feel that that's not really for us, that we want to withdraw, be like the sage and the holy man, not get involved with other people and their problems. Again, that's fine, nothing to worry about. But if we are looking for fame and attention and all of that kind of stuff, we have to be aware that this hexagram does move to hexagram number 9, which is taming power of the great. We had that yesterday, I think. And that talks about the dense clouds, but no rain. So we might feel that now is our moment, but we might be disappointed. And I think I used that word disappointed yesterday as well. So I'm kind of getting a repeated theme here. The rain just doesn't happen. So we need to accept that and be patient. And as I said yesterday, it may not be for a few days, but we start to get the recognition that we feel we deserve. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.